How has the inclusion of the LGBTQ plus community impacted the professionalism of the US military? This is the provocative inquiry we shall be investigating in today's exploration. Our objective is to delve into the various ways that the presence of the LGBTQ plus community within the US military has influenced its professionalism and, by extension, its effectiveness. This is a topic of considerable importance, not just for those directly involved in the military, but for all of us who are part of a society that depends on the military for protection and security. Each element that influences the military's conduct, performance, and professionalism has a ripple effect on the wider society. Understanding the dynamics that shape these elements is crucial for us to form a comprehensive perspective on the military's operation and the various factors that shape its conduct. So, without further ado, let's delve into how this infiltration began. Our journey begins in the late 20th century when the LGBTQ plus community started to make its presence known within the US military. As the decades rolled on, the world began to see a shift in societal norms. The LGBTQ plus community, long marginalized, sought to claim their rightful place in society, including within the ranks of the US military. This was not an overnight change, but rather a gradual process marked by key events and policy changes. One such policy was the controversial Don't Ask, Don't Tell, implemented in the early 90s. This policy was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it was seen as a step forward in that it allowed members of the LGBTQ plus community to serve in the military, albeit under the condition of silence about their sexual orientation. On the other hand, it was a clear sign of the systemic discrimination that was still prevalent, a stark reminder that full acceptance was yet to be achieved. Despite the obstacles, the LGBTQ plus community continued to serve with pride and dedication, demonstrating their worth and competence. Their service was not without challenges, though. The cloak and dagger approach necessitated by the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy often led to a sense of isolation and fear of discovery, adding an unnecessary layer of stress to an already demanding job. Even so, the LGBTQ plus community persevered. They continued to serve, to fight, and to protect, all while striving to achieve recognition and acceptance within the military. Their determination and resilience were commendable as they navigated through a system that was not designed to accommodate them. As the century turned, the infiltration, if one may call it that, continued to grow. The LGBTQ plus community was not just a part of the military, they were becoming an integral part of it. They were soldiers, sailors, airmen, and marines. They were leaders, heroes, and comrades. They were, and are, as much a part of the military as anyone else. As we moved into the 21st century, the infiltration continued to grow. The 21st century marked a time of significant change for the LGBTQ plus community within the US military. With the dawn of the new millennium came a shift in societal attitudes, and the military was no exception. The rigid walls of tradition began to crumble, making way for a wave of progress that would irrevocably alter the landscape of the armed forces. One of the most significant milestones in this journey was the repeal of the controversial Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in 2011. This policy, a relic of a bygone era, had long forced LGBTQ plus servicemen and women to hide their true identities. Its repeal was celebrated as a victory for human rights and equality, marking the official acceptance of openly LGBTQ plus individuals into the military. But this change was not without its controversies. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell ignited fierce debates throughout the country. Critics argued that allowing openly LGBTQ plus individuals in the military could disrupt unit cohesion, while proponents maintained that everyone, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, had the right to serve their country. These debates were not confined to the realms of politics and public opinion. They also permeated the military itself, leading to a period of uncertainty and tension. Many feared that this newfound openness could lead to division within the ranks, while others hailed it as a necessary step towards a more inclusive and diverse military. The controversy surrounding these changes highlighted the deeply ingrained prejudices that still existed within society. It served as a stark reminder that, despite the progress made, there was still a long road ahead. Prejudice and discrimination did not simply vanish overnight, and the fight for equality was far from over. Despite the advancements made, there were still hurdles to overcome. The journey towards acceptance and equality within the military was, and continues to be, a complex and challenging one. But it is a journey that must be undertaken, for in the pursuit of equality, there is no room for compromise. Then came the era of Donald Trump, a time that would prove challenging for the LGBTQ+ community. A significant moment in this era came in 2017, when the Trump administration announced a ban on transgender individuals serving in the military. This decision was a stark departure from the previous administration's policies that had allowed, and indeed welcomed, open service by transgender individuals. The reasons given for the ban were multifaceted. The administration cited costs, military readiness, and unit cohesion as the primary factors behind the decision. They argued that the medical costs associated with transgender healthcare were too high for the military budget. They also suggested that transgender service members could disrupt unit cohesion and morale, potentially compromising military effectiveness. This decision was met with a flurry of reactions. Supporters of the ban applauded the move, arguing that it was a necessary step to maintain the military's professionalism and readiness. They maintained that the military should focus on combat effectiveness, not social experimentation. On the other side of the coin, opponents of the ban were quick to voice their dissent. They pointed out that numerous studies had shown that the cost of transgender healthcare was negligible in the grand scheme of the military's vast budget. They also refuted the argument about unit cohesion, citing that many of the military's allies, like the United Kingdom and Israel, had allowed transgender service members for years without any apparent detrimental effect on unit cohesion or military readiness. The ban was also seen as an attack on the rights of transgender individuals, with critics arguing that it was discriminatory and unjust. They insisted that anyone who is capable and willing should be allowed to serve their country, regardless of their gender identity. The ban marked a significant setback for the LGBTQ+ community, but the story doesn't end there. The fight for equal rights and acceptance within the military, and indeed within society as a whole, continues. The conversation about what it means to serve and who gets to make that choice is far from over. The ban had been implemented, but what were the effects on the professionalism of the US military? As the dust settled, the military began to feel the immediate aftermath of the ban. The military's professionalism, a cornerstone of its operation, was put under a microscope. Some claimed that the ban led to decreased unit cohesion. The abrupt change in policy, they said, created an environment of uncertainty and tension. Soldiers who had once fought side by side were now divided by an invisible line drawn by the ban. This division, critics argue, could potentially undermine the unity so essential in a military operation. The ban also reportedly affected the morale of the servicemen and servicewomen. The feeling of exclusion and discrimination could be demoralizing, resulting in lower motivation and commitment to serve. This, in turn, could affect the overall effectiveness and efficiency of the military. Moreover, there were concerns about the ban's impact on overall military readiness. The abrupt dismissal of qualified and experienced LGBTQ+ servicemen and servicewomen could result in a talent drain. This loss of skilled personnel might take a toll on the military's readiness to respond to threats and challenges. In the military, where every second counts, a decrease in readiness could have potentially grave consequences. However, it's important to note that these are claims and concerns, not proven facts. The actual impact of the ban on the professionalism of the military is a complex issue and is still being debated. In contrast, supporters of the ban argue that it has enhanced professionalism. They contend that the ban has eliminated distractions and potential conflicts that could arise from personal and sexual relationships, thereby fostering a more focused and professional environment. So, the question remains, has the infiltration of the LGBTQ+ community been a boon or a bane for the professionalism of the US military? Only time and further research will provide a definitive answer. For now, it remains a topic of heated debate. We've journeyed through time, exploring the infiltration of the LGBTQ+ community within the US military. Let's take a moment to revisit the key points we've discussed. Our journey began with the early stages of infiltration, where the concept of LGBTQ+ subtly found its way into the military, challenging the norms of the day. As we moved into the 21st century, we saw a time of change, a shift in attitudes and acceptance, which brought its own set of complexities and challenges. Then came the Trump era, marked by a controversial ban, a move that sent ripples through the military and intelligence community. We've also delved into the effects on professionalism within the ranks. Despite the upheavals and controversies, the focus has remained on maintaining a high standard of professional conduct. As we continue to navigate these waters, it's important to remember that the goal is always to maintain a professional and effective military, regardless of who is serving.